Stay Sports Extraordinary on Atlantic Television Network, and of course, we have a lot for you this evening. We told you we'll bring you the latest from the top 5 leagues in Europe, not forgetting the Nigerian Premier Football League as well as all the stories we will bring around the world of sport. Joining me this evening is a man you know so well, Emmanuel Michael. Good evening to you and welcome to the show.
Yeah, good evening to you, Kingsley, and good evening to our viewers. They're always a pleasure to do this with you.
All right, we saw an impressive record over the weekend as President Bola Tinubu and other well-meaning Nigerians have congratulated Mr. Tunde Onokayo on setting a new world chess record and sounding the gong of Nigerian resilience, self-belief, and ingenuity at the square of global acclaim. Mr. Onokayo broke the Guinness World Record for the longest chess marathon.
A good reason, I think, for me, it's a nice one because over the years, we've seen some of the sportsmen and women that hails from this country, out there in the news for the wrong reason. It's either for, a doping issue or one issue or the other, especially our athletes. Some of them are actually being banned so far, but then I think Onakoya is putting Nigeria's name on the world map for the good reason. This is an impressive feat that is actually going to serve as a good one for not just for himself, not just for Nigeria alone, but for the continent of Africa. And again, one interesting aspect of it is that the money that realized from this, this feat, according to him, he has donated it for the less privileged because he wants to also ensure that he give back to the society. He's using the money as a donor for African kids out there, in order to help them further their education, which for me is very, very vital. Such a, impressive feat. We need to also give him his flowers because it's not an easy one. You know what it takes for you to stay for about 58 hours, what that means. I think he has been able to put a lot for himself, and I think, like I said earlier, it's such an impressive feat. A good one for him, good one for the nation called Nigeria and for the continent of Africa entirely.
Good one for Onokayo, of course. We saw some accolade from him, a huge level of support as well for Nigerians. We told you that the President Ahmed Bola Tinubu actually gave him, of course, his support, and well-meaning Nigerians as well also extending their support to Mr. Onokayo for putting up this feat in chess, as a time. But Michael, what do you make of, Nigerians, attempting the Guinness World Record? A lot of Nigerians have actually, told this direction ever since a lady called Linda Bassi in Lagos actually put up, a cooking marathon record, for herself. A lot of Nigerians has dived into, putting up a record, for themselves as it stands. And what do you make of the drive for, putting up a record, putting up a Guinness World Record for themselves?
I think when it has to do with Nigeria, we are always good in catching, attention, especially in any area where people think it's a different climb or a different route for people to apply. We also want to show our own strength that indeed the spirit of Nigeria is with us, and that never die spirit is what keeps Nigeria going. Wherever they find themselves, they always want to prove that indeed they can do it to the best of their knowledge, and that is the drive behind some of these individuals taking up the challenge to set Guinness World Record or possibly to break the ones that have been set by previous individuals in the past. So it tells you of the resilience, it tells you of the dogged nature of Nigerians here and all over the world, that wherever they find themselves, they want to also be at the top for the good reason. I think for me it's a good one because we've seen, just like you said earlier, after Hilda Bassi went for the cooking marathon as well, we've seen a couple of other individuals as well doing that line of trying to create history for themselves by meeting up or breaking one Guinness Book record or the other. And it has been an impressive one. It's a clear testament to the fact that Nigerians, they are very resilient, they are very dogged and very passionate about
Talking about Tebineke, he signed to play for the reigning Nigerian League champions by River Supers at the Basketball African League season 4. Ike was outstanding when he made his national team debut at the Afro Basket qualifiers held in Tunisia. 2 months ago, the 6'8" forward averaged 22 points at 8.3 rebounds and 5 assists in 3 games. What do you make of this new inclusion in for River Supers ahead of the Basketball African League?
I tell you, it's a good one because we've seen the Rivers Hoopers getting about 3 new players to add into their rank to also ensure that they beef up their squad for the Basketball African League that is just by the corner. And if you ask me, this is another addition into their rank, and he's a very experienced player. 28 years, he has been able to ply his trade in Belgium, Portugal, Switzerland, to mention but a few of the countries that he has toured around in his quest for basketball. I think for me, it's going to bring his wealth of experience to bear and to also help the team, talking about the Kingsmen as they are popularly known, to also go to the African Basketball League and do us proud. You know, their first out in their maiden edition, it wasn't what we expected, though at some point we caught them to the slack because that was their first appearance, and you don't expect them to possess much of the experience needed to do wonders harder. But in their second appearance, where they actually qualified, due to the leadership tussles and the Nigerian Basketball Federation, then they were unable to go out there. This will be their third outing. So I think with the addition of these 4 key players into their rank, is going to also help the team experience-wise, exposure-wise. They are going to bring the wealth of their experience to add to the crops of players that we already have, who, for me, is doing pretty well. Don't forget, they won the Nigerian Basketball League a few months ago here in Port Harcourt. So for me, I think this is a good preparation for the Basketball African League. And I tell you, this time around, I definitely keep my fingers crossed, hoping that the Rivers Hoopers is going to go out there and do exploits.
Rivers Hoopers will go out there and do exploits. And still talking about exploits, we've seen some exploits in the NBA as the Boston Celtics started their NBA playoff campaign with a 114-94 win over the Miami Heat. Notes in the NBA playoff.
Impressive one for Boston Celtics, Kingsley. You know, this team has a whole lot of rich history for themselves out there for what they've achieved in the past, and even present they are still pushing hard to, be among some of the top teams out there. And if you take a look at their way before they get to this playoff season, we say that they've had a very good season so far. And I think when it matters most, when the chips are down, most of their key players come to the party. They deliver a top-notch performance from Boston Celtics. But against Miami Heat, I think they were blighted by injury to some of their key players. The likes of Butler wasn't in that game, and I think that actually affected them a whole lot. But then looking at the point disparity to which Boston Celtics used to gap them or topple them, it was quite evident. It's about 20-point disparity. It was very clear that Boston Celtics was at their A game on a day. And I think for me, if they continue in this way, I tell you, they would definitely have a claim in the title race come this season.
Let's see how it goes. Can the Miami Heat bounce back? That's the big question, at this point in time. But we'll keep our fingers crossed and see how it goes in their next encounter. But the defending champion, the Denver Nuggets, beat the Los Angeles Lakers 114-103 to take a 1-0 lead in the NBA playoff first round series. Denver Nuggets, defending champion. Do you think this, see this to be an easy one for the Los Angeles Lakers?
Well, looking at the point margin, it was just 11-point margin out there. So for LA Lakers rather, I think they did pretty well, but it's just that what they did wasn't enough to compare with the defending champion Denver Nuggets, with their key men. Talking about Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, who, whenever they are fit for Denver Nuggets, they always give out their best out there. Because looking at the impressive 3 digits that Nikola Jokic put in, coupled with that of Jamal Murray, actually gave them the advantage. So looking at what they achieved last season and compared to what they've actually done so far, they are among the first or second team to make it through to qualify first for the playoffs. So it tells you of the quality that Denver Nuggets possess. And I tell you, they've been very, very phenomenal this season. And I see them defending this title that they won last time, but then they still have 1 or 2 hurdles to cross out there, because the likes of Button said is still very much around. They still need to continue to put their foot on the throttle to ensure that they keep firing from all cylinders. And I tell you, if all things being equal, that most of their key players is fit for this very one, then they'll have a good run in the playoff.
Have a good one, of course, in the playoff. But earlier, as of today, we saw some interesting results as well, as Milwaukee Bucks got past Indiana Pacers 109 to 94. Oklahoma City Thunder, they were able, of course, to get past New Orleans Pelicans 194 to 92 in that particular encounter. And let's see how, of course, the next encounters, of course, will look like at the end of the day. But let's stay away from basketball this evening as we take a look at, marathon. 17-year-old Plateau State indigene Francis James yesterday finished second at the maiden Abuja City Half Marathon. James crossed the line in 1 hour to finish second behind the winner of the race, Shedrack Ngomba from Kenya. Ngomba won the 21-kilometer race with a time of 1 hour 7 minutes 8 seconds to claim the gold medal and $5,000 first prize for the international field. But the center of all eyes was James, who inspired and impressed Nigerian outing in both the male and female category. James received $3,000 for finishing second, in addition to cash reward of $1 million as the best Nigerian performer as it stands. Michael, what do you make of it? We saw Kenyan, coming up, to take off this one, but all eyes were on James, who, of course, actually put up a very impressive performance. It's been a long time also in Nigeria getting this far in a marathon race.
For me, I tell you something to cheer home about, because the long distance race is not our thing. Over the years, we've seen countries such as Ethiopia and Kenya dominating in terms of long distance race. We are not good at it. That is just the truth. But I think it's a cheering news to see James, pulling up such a, massive feat out there. I mean, there is hope for Nigeria in terms of longer distance race, but we must also do the needful. The authority, talking about the Nigerian Athletic Federation, they must also put a close eye on James to ensure that he continue to, grow from one step to another. They must give him the needed support so as to, ensure him. If he doesn't take anything for us to, give him a scholarship. The likes of Toby Amotion, Chukwebuka and Nekwechi that you are seeing doing pretty well today, they also got scholarship to further their education out there in the overseas and also continue their career. So I feel it's a good sign that indeed Nigeria can also be good when it has to do with a long distance race. At 17, he's doing such an immersive and impressive thing out there. I think for me, in the next 2 or 3 years to come, if proper attention is given to this lad, I tell you, he has a great future, one that is definitely going to do the country proud, not just the country, but the continent of Africa. But then we need to also do the needful, allow him to grow through the rank. We must also give him the needed support, needed encouragement as well to continue to grow. So I think, like I said earlier, it's an impressive one for him and a good one for Nigeria to see that at least we are gradually finding our footings in terms of long distance race.
Nigerian athletes also had an impressive outing in the women's events with Patience Delop Yumune, Nicholas and Elizabeth Nuhu finishing 4th, 5th, and 6th respectively. South Sudan's Diaspora Atalana won the race, and $5,000 cash prize at the time of 1 minute 20 seconds 23 1 minute 20 minutes and 23 seconds down there. And of course, was such an impressive one. Now we look forward to see how it goes, for these athletes, especially the Nigerian marathon runners, who hope that they continue with this impressive feat going forward. But away from that, let's take a look at other marathon events, as Alexander Motiso Moya delivered another win for Kenya. On the day the London Marathon, remember that last year's champion, Kevin Kipton. A race that started with a period of applause for Kipton, who was killed in a car crash in Kenya in February, ended with his countryman and Fred running alone down the final straight in front of Buckingham Palace. So an impressive victory in his first major marathon. Mutiso Mayo denied 41-year-old Kenya Nisa Bekele a first London Marathon victory by pulling away from the Ethiopian great with about 3 kilometers to go Sunday for his biggest career win. He finished in 2 hours 4 minutes and 1 second with Bekele finishing 14 seconds behind. Emmanuel Keres of Britain came third in that particular one. Michael, it was another moment for the man talking about Mutiso. Of course, he's from Kenya, doing what they know how to do best, down there for themselves for this time around in the London Marathon.
Yes, Kingsley, when it has to do with long distance races, I made mention of this earlier, that the Kenyans or the Ethiopians, they are always very, very good. One interesting aspect of it is that Bekele, even while taking part in this very one, nobody gave him that reckoning. Nobody gave him that chance. Even their sport minister, did not even notice that the presence of this kind of athlete that was there. So for me, I think over the years, the Kenyans, they've been very dominant. They've been very, very good when it has to do with a long distance race, and it's a good one for them, not just for them, but for the continent of Africa, because whenever any long distance race is being mentioned across the globe, you can't take away the Kenya or Ethiopian equation out there. And of course, these two countries, they hail from the continent of Africa. So for me, I think it's a good one. It's high time we also take some of our long distance race athletes like the James we talked about right now. This doesn't take us anything to also take him,
Sprint alone down the final stretch. She finished in 2 hours 16 minutes 16 seconds with Asefa in second and Jocelyn Jabsuki in third position down there. Let's quickly stay away from that. Let's take a trip now to China. It's all the Chinese Grand Prix we saw over the weekend, and of course, Max Verstappen took another level of dominance this time, and of course, he came first at the Chinese Grand Prix, Michael.
Massive display from Max Verstappen, Kingsley. When you talk about the Formula One since the start of last season down to the start of this season, there's only one man that has been a household name in the Formula One, and there's no other person than Max Verstappen. I think he's made it 4 out of 5. If not for the temporary setback at the Japanese Grand Prix, where he got brake failure, we had his caliber, detached from the wheel and all of that. Yeah, so he had a bit of a setback in that Japanese Grand Prix. He should have made it 5 out of 5. So I think for Max Verstappen, he's just on a class of his own, a world of his own, while others are just clean behind him. So looking at this season for what he's achieved already, and looking at the way he's going about it, I tell you, Max Verstappen will definitely coast home this one at the end of the season. Despite all the internal wrangles that the Red Bull has at the earlier season, where they have this leadership tussle among them out there, but then he did not allow that to even deter him. He continued to come out and put up a massive display for himself out there. I think for me, it's a great job. But then one name that also come to Formula One fans in their mind right now is about Lewis Hamilton of the Mercedes. I think Lewis Hamilton, for this season, starting from last season, not just this season, has been having a very poor result against in the Formula One. We talked about the Mercedes engine not being in their shape and the attempt for them to refurbish the engine and all of that, but then it still looks as though they are far behind the Red Bulls, and that is why Red Bull and Max Verstappen continue to dominate the Formula One. It's such an embarrassing one for a driver such as Lewis Hamilton that have actually achieved a lot for himself, finishing ninth. I think it was the height of the embarrassment that Max Verstappen is passing through so far this season. But then I think it's going to be a very poor one if at the end of the whole season they don't get to finish, even winning one race. I think then the Toto Wolff also need to think about what the Mercedes is all about, and also try to rediscover their form by making sure they work on their engine. But in all, I just think for this season, Max Verstappen is on a class of his own.
Matt Verstappen, of course, putting up a very impressive performance for himself this season in Formula One. We told you he came fourth in the race. Lando Norris came second. Sergio Perez was third. Charles Leclerc, of course, came fourth. Carlos Sainz came fifth. George Russell, the man from Mercedes, came sixth. Fernando Alonso seventh, and Oscar Piastri eighth. Lewis Hamilton finished in ninth position. Nico Hülkenberg of Haas came 10th in that particular one. And let's quickly start away from Formula One now as we take a look at tennis on the show. Michael, it was Casper Ruud who won. Casper Ruud, of course, was the one who won the tournament, talking about the Barcelona Open, and that is his first title in the 2024 season, and he beat Stefano Tsitsipas in straight set to win the Barcelona Open. Ended in a 7-5, 6-3 victory for Casper Ruud.
Impressive one for Casper Ruud, but I was a little bit taken aback when the game was actually going on. I thought maybe Tsitsipas was going to come back, after the first and second set, but then he was.
Tsitsipas just won a title of recent.
Yes.
And
that he won a title of recent doesn't mean that he should not continue in that fine form. So heading into this one, I actually tipped, Stefano Tsitsipas to get past, his opponent, but then it wasn't to be. And this is the beauty of the game, where, some players go in there as, minnows in quote, but then they go out there to do exploit by taming down some of the big name players. So I think it's a great one for Casper Ruud. Winning his first title so far this season is a good one, but let's hope that he's going to continue in this fine form going forward. 500 points at stake. He has taken this one in the bag, plus the money that comes with it. I think it's an impressive one for him.
Impressive one, of course, for Casper Ruud. And world number 4, Elena Rybakina, claimed a third title all for the year, beating Marcia Kostic 6-2, 6-2 to win the Stuttgart Open. Third title for Elena Rybakina, Michael.
Third time for Atn Sport, and she still remains the only player so far this year to have defeated the world number 1 and world number 2. That is the height of his achievement so far, and not just that, she's capping it up with the trophy, 3 trophies so far this year. What a massive feat for her. So I think she's just good to watch on the court. It was a total dominance on her part out there, and I believe with this impressive feat for her so far this season, I tell you, Kingsley, she actually continue in this fine form. Possibly, who knows what will happen as the world in the ranking, because she doesn't just get to win most of this game, but the point that comes with winning some of the final is very, very vital. Not just the money, but the ranking. These are what some of the players is looking up to, and that is why they want to always get far into any competition, because the point ranking, where they get to rack up this point and add to what they have already, it projects them up even further to be able to stay in a very comfortable position in terms of the world ranking. It's a great one for her.
Great one for Elena Rybakina. At this point, we'll take a short break, and when we'll come back from the break, we'll take a look at the Nigerian Premier Football League. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Ended on. So now here's this winner at the bench. And winner 12 years for this. So drink it in. Still goes to Arthur. What he loves to be immortality as an athlete. 19.79. It's a goal. It's 8 goals.
welcome back. Still Sport Extraordinary on Atlantic Television Network. Of course, it's time for we to talk football. And our first point of call will be the Nigerian Premier Football League. Michael, was also impressive results about the weekend in Nigerian Premier Football League. Kwara United got past Kwara United at home, 1-0 in that particular encounter. Rivers United, of course, were able to beat Rangers by 2-0. First of all, let's start with the encounter. What do you make of that victory for Rivers United?
I think it's a morale booster for Rivers United after their dismal outing at the continent in the CAF Confederation Cup. I think coming back home, they need a total focus to ensure that they finish very strong in the league so far, because looking at where they are seated on the log is not a very comfortable for a big team such as Rivers United. So one might say, yeah, they were distracted because of the fact they were taking part in continental games, and that is why they have as much as 5 to 6 outstanding games so far. So I think it's a good victory for them. Although looking at Enugu Rangers side, that is also topping the league, also fighting for the title before this game. Many pundits out there thought maybe Rangers, because of the fine form that we've seen of them this season, is coming here to pick all 3 points or at most get a point against Rivers United. But then Rivers United continue to maintain their record against Enugu Rangers, who has never had a better record here in Rivers State when they actually lock horns against Rivers United. So I think 2 goals and 3 points, very good one for Rivers United. If they can continue to pick up some of these vital points, I see them finishing very strong in the league so far this season.
Arsenal United, of course, beat Sporting Lagos by 2-0. Sunshine Stars won a draw against Imba Football Club. Lobby Stars played goalless against Bender Insurance. Kano Pillars beat Gombe United by 4-9. Jet Tornadoes, of course, beat Doma United by 2-0. And Plateau United, of course, got past Remo Stars 1-0 in favor of Plateau United. But Heartland were able to get another win, this time at home against Shooting Stars. Michael, another winner for Christian Obi.
For Christian Obi and his boys, I think it has been a very dismal, season for them. They've just managed 7 or 6, wins out of about 32 game played so far this season, and 7 of those wins, I think 3 came under the short period where Kennedy Boboye, was in charge before he was quickly relieved of his appointment, and Christian Obi drafted back into the team. I think it's a good one. Looking at where Heartland find themselves, they are within the relegation zone. They are hovering around 17 to 18 positions, which is not a good one. They did pretty well in the NNL, playing unbeaten, coming back to the Nigerian top flight league. You expect them to be firing from all cylinders, but then I think with Heartland and their coach talking about Christian Obi, it has been a very, very dismal outing for them so far this season. But then it's a positive one, picking all 3 points. Let's hope that they can be able to continue to fight till the last minute of the league, if they can be able to survive the relegation battle, which they are actually struggling right now. But another funny thing is that whenever you think that Heartland have discovered their form, in their next game now, you will see them losing their next game very woefully. But I tell you, I think if there is any time that they need to fight, like a wounded lion in their life, I think this is the time that Heartland need to start churning out results. This is the time they need to go back to their, arsenal and be able to fashion out a good weapon that they can use to be able to get all 3 points and stay afloat of the MPFL league so far, if they truly want to remain here. If not, I see them going back to where they came from, which is the NNL, because looking at the result of Christian Obi so far since the start of this season, it has been very, very poor.
All right, we hope that they continue with this impressive feat going forward, talking about Heartland FC. Well, let's stay away from the Nigerian Premier Football League. Michael, let's take a look at the FA Cup also over the weekend in the English Premier League, or in England down there. Manchester United, of course, we saw them with another abysmal performance as they actually played their 3-draw against a championship side, talking about Coventry, and they went down to penalties, were able to get through that particular one. A lot of persons have actually criticized, the performance of Manchester United. First, what do you make of it? Was that victory, of course, was it deserved victory for Manchester United against Coventry?
Yeah, whether it was deserved, that I don't know, but victory is victory. They've actually, wriggled their way through to the final, even when they don't deserve to get to the final, looking at the kind of disjointed and embarrassing football that they played against a certain championship side, Luton Town. After going up 3-0 against a championship side, you allowed them to come back into the game by drawing level at 3-3, and even had to force you, a team such as Manchester United, with the rich history that they have, a championship side, forcing you to 3-3 and taking you to penalty shot before they were able to get over that one. I think there are some controversies that we also saw in the game. The goal that was disallowed for Luton Town, according to the official, they said it was an offside, but a closer look, we tell you that it wasn't an offside. So there's a whole lot of controversies in that very one. But then I think for United so far, this has been a very disappointing outing for them. Right from the Champions League, where they went out very early, coming into the league, we expected them to be fighting for the league, looking at where they finished last season. But then they are even battling to see if they can be able to finish within 6th position. That is how bad Manchester United season have become under Erik ten Hag, who always derive joy in coming to the media to wax lyricals whenever he gets it wrong. There's some critics, their ex-players and club legend and other players such as Jimmy Carragher as well have come to hit hard against Manchester United. Whenever some of these pundits always come to hit at Manchester United about their dismal display, Erik ten Hag will sure be there to bring up a rejoinder to counter that critics. And for me, I think he does well in the media more than he should be doing behind the touchline. It tells you of how disappointed Manchester United has become so far this season. They've actually lost their identity. Since Alex Ferguson left, they've been trying a whole lot to see if they can be able to get back their mojo, but it wasn't to be. Many coaches, big-name coaches, have come and gone. They brought the one they call the only one, what is it called, David Moyes. He couldn't succeed. They brought so many coaches, Luis Van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, yet nothing is changing. So I think for Erik ten Hag, he just truly need to go back to coaching schools and be able to derive, a new pattern of play or a new instinct that will help him to maintain a lead. One thing very striking is that Manchester United, under Erik ten Hag, find it difficult to maintain a lead, especially at the dying end of the game. We saw that happen against Fulham. We saw that happen against Brentford. 3 minutes they scored, just 3 minutes to go. Brentford hit back. We also saw that against Chelsea. They considered 2 late goals within the space of 2 minutes, and that's how bad it is. How can you be leading a championship side 3-0? They came back to equalize and even threatened you. In fact, it was a threat because they had the chance of even winning the penalty, because Manchester United first threw some penalties away, but it just boiled down to luck. In the game of penalty shootouts, it can go either way, and that is what happened. But generally, I tell you, Kingsley, Manchester United was very, very disappointing yesterday in terms of their play pattern. There was nothing to write home about it.
Nothing to write home about for Manchester United. Michael, you mentioned the fact that ten Hag has lost it. But over time, other managers that have actually been at the helm of affairs at United, have not really gotten it right. Is it are you trying? Can we also look at it in the light? Is maybe the structure at United not being very favorable, or probably the managers that have been there over time, even before ten Hag, are not good managers to say?
Not that they are not a good manager, but then I think. The big shoe that Sir Alex Ferguson created, and that vacuum is still very, very difficult for some of the coaches that have come and gone to, wear that big titty for Manchester United. You came in, fine. You are not you've not won a major silverware, but one thing remains: do you have a pattern of play? Is there any identity that people can look at and say, okay, this team, they are actually playing very well? It's just that, you know, they are lacking trophy to capital, just like Arsenal right now. People will say, criticize Mikel Arteta and Arsenal for their lack of eye for the trophy, but then come to think of it, realistically speaking, you take a look at the way Arsenal organize themselves. You take a look at within the Arsenal team, which is not to be compared with what Manchester United have under the coaches that have come and gone. Manchester United play disjointed kind of football. Like you can neither say Manchester United is an attacking team or they are defensive team or a counter-attacking team. So I think that is where the problem is. In as much as the authority have their own share of the blame, but then will that also reflect or translate to what the coaches does with the player in the pitch of play? We are not taking away the fact that they have one or two, things to fix at Manchester United. Some of the structures has been dilapidated. Some have gone obsolete, according to what Cristiano Ronaldo said in time past. But then, should that affect the pattern of play in the pitch? That is the question. So I think it's not about the authority not getting it right in terms of infrastructure and all of that. It just boils down to the by Sir Alex Ferguson.
Another trophyless season for Chelsea as they lost to Manchester City by 1-0 as well.
Yeah, not a good one for Chelsea so far this season. You will say, yeah, they are still a young player. Actually cost Chelsea so far this season. Then again, the greatest, fear that Chelsea as a football club has right now is Nicolas Jackson. That is their greatest fear, because in that game against Manchester City, Chelsea had no business in losing that game. Looking at the chances that they created and the chances that fell in the way of Nicolas Jackson, where he failed to convert chances, and at the end of it all, they paid for it dearly against a Manchester City side that was looking very, very fatigued. They were looking very, very tired because of their midweek, Champions League game against Real Madrid, where they actually played over 120 minutes, and they did not have enough time to rest in that very one. Even their coach, talking about Pep Guardiola, complained bitterly because of that match. He said that it was going to be an overload for the players, which for me, I definitely agree with him. And if you take a look at the way they actually started the game, you could literally see that fatigue in them. And that is why Chelsea dominated every angle of the game, especially in the first half. Had lots and lots of chances, but Jackson, I think that is the greatest problem for Chelsea for now. But then, they'll be going trophyless this season.
All right, let's take a look at the Premier League, because we saw some exciting games. Everton, of course, beats Nottingham Forest by 2-0, and Aston Villa beats Bournemouth by 3-1. Crystal Palace beats West Ham United by 5-2. Fulham lost to Liverpool by 3-1. Luton Town lost to Brentford by 5-1, and Sheffield United they lost to Burnley by 4-1. Wolverhampton Wanderers they lost to Arsenal by 2-1. But let's quickly take a look at the results from the Spanish La Liga, as we saw some impressive results down there in the Spanish La Liga. Getafe played 1-draw against Real Sociedad. Almeria lost to Villarreal by 2-1. Alaves beats Atletico Madrid by 2-0. Real Madrid, of course, beats FC Barcelona by 3-2. Celta Vigo beats Las Palmas by 4-1. Vallecano beats Osasuna by